Hey trappers, Dale Billingsley here, Billingsley Brand Lures. So after I put up that raccoon snaring video yesterday, I was requested to do a coyote snaring video today. So I thought that's what I'd do for y'all. I want to go over a couple little scenarios with you about snaring coyotes and how you can handle that. Again, the first thing I want to go over though is the snare. Now this happens to be one of my trail snares. This snare is actually one of my short trail snares. It's a 10 foot long snare, 7 foot of 3/32 7x7 cable with roughly 3 foot of 5/64 7x7. You can, and I do use a little bit of 16th, and I do use some 3/32 as well, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit. This one just happens to be a 5/64. About 3 foot of cable this way to hang about an 8-inch loop, which is what's legal on dry ground here in Iowa, unless I'm within so many feet of water, and then I can jump up to an 11-inch loop. But anyway, everything here is about an 8-inch loop. It's a little small, but we get by with it. Again, I've got the 600-pound test Roscoe crane swivel there. You get those from Striker Outdoor Supply. Like I said yesterday in the coon video, they run you around 30 bucks a hundred. They're pretty reasonable, pretty cheap. Again, got the 3/32 cam lock, and I know like in Missouri, you have to use a one-piece lock. So again, I would look at the micro lock over some of the others. I know like in Pennsylvania, you boys are restricted on cable size. You have to use 3/32 cable, and I'm not sure about the lock, whether you can use a cam lock or whether you have to have a relaxing type lock. But, you know, just check your local laws, you know, and read up on them and make sure that you're legal in whatever state you're in. That's pretty much it. Now, I do make these anywhere from as short as 7 feet to as long as 15 feet, depending on where I'm at. And in the situation that I'm in. Like I said, this one here is 10 feet. Seems to kind of be an all-around kind of a deal. Works really well for me. So with that being said, let's kind of jump right off into this. All right, guys. Here's what we got here. We've got a farm lane, and this is the track. This is the tire track right here, and this lane goes for a good 60 rod, not quite a quarter of a mile down through here. And these coyotes run this. We're right on the edge of a bean field. We've got a bean field over here. We got the dead furrow right here. The tire track is right here. And I hang a lot of these. I hang a lot of these tire tracks. And what I do, now I stake everything down. I don't use steel stakes in these, guys. I run a disposable. This is a pogo on 1/8-inch cable. The reason I don't like putting steel stakes in these is I don't know when that farmer's going to come down through here. I don't like running kill poles in them. I don't like running steel stakes because I don't want to ruin a tire. I don't want to run a kill pole through somebody's radiator or a gas tank or something like that. So just be mindful of all that and have a little respect, or at least talk to the farmer and say, look, here's what I'm doing. You know, don't drive down through there. And of course, it's just like telling them, you know, hey, if you're going to chisel plow a field, let me know a few days ahead of time. I'll get traps pulled. They never think about it. And next thing you know, you've got ran over traps, or they've run down through here, hit your kill pole, run it through a tire, run it through a fuel tank, whatever it might be. So anyway, pogo earth anchor, 1/8-inch cable on it, attach it to my snare, drive it in right beside the trail. Then the next thing I do is my support wire, just like I showed yesterday in that raccoon snaring video. I bend them exactly the same way, and they just, you know, the W has to go in the ground. You can't just walk up and stick straight smooth wire in the ground, or it's going to flop and move on you. You've got to support that snare solid. So shove it in the ground. I don't know if I can get in this old hard ground. Nope. I'm gonna have to do it the other way here. And when I run into a hard ground situation like this is where your pogo driver comes in nice, because it's got the grooves already in it. So you just put your wire right in there, put it right close to the trail, then you just take your hammer and drive that wire in where it needs to be. Okay. Pull your earth anchor or your driver out, and now we're solid. Now we're right where we need to be. And I cut my support wires about 3.5 foot long. I want plenty of wire. They're gonna make more of it tomorrow. So, you know, don't short yourself on the wire. Timber, you better calm down. Now take that, put my support collar on my snare, and then to get my height right, what I do is I just stand my hammer up. My hammer handle's about 12 inches long. So I just bend that wire till I get it hanging about where I want it as far as the height, and make sure that I'm centered over the trail. About right there. Now, we've got our snare hung. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but it's hung right there. Now what you need to do is start kind of, not overdo it, but just a little subtle guiding. It can be, you know, nothing more than just a heavy weed or two. Like this, stuck in here alongside of it. And we'll put another one right over here. Now the biggest thing is making sure that you don't get anything hanging in the middle of that loop. You want that loop wide open. And when you've got it brushed in like this, his head will go right through there. Just as easy as not. Like I said, and if you think you need him to pick his head up, it's not a big deal to do nothing more than this right here. If you just get you a blade of grass, dang wind, and this old hard ground's not going to want to stand up for me. But if you take a blade of grass and loop it, bend it right over the bottom of that loop, just like that. That'll make that coyote pick his head up. He'll pick his head up and go right through there every time. That would be the completed set on like a tractor or a truck trail. All right, guys. Now here we have another scenario. We have a dig under. We have a crawl under where the coyotes have been crawling underneath the fence here. Now these are really simple, really easy, but a lot of guys have trouble with them. For the simple fact is they don't quite understand or know just exactly where to hang that loop. So I'm going to try to clear some of that up for you, hopefully. And there's nothing set in stone on this, okay? This is just the way I do things. I'm not telling you this is the absolute right or wrong way. It's just the way that I do it. So the first thing we do is we've got a good hedge post over here that's solid that we're going to anchor our snare to. So we'll take our snare and we'll go around that post and then run our snare loop through our tail loop and attach it that way. So okay, we've got it over here. There we go. We got it snugged up tight. He's not going to pull it. Now the next thing I do, instead of using the number 9 wire, I just use a piece of just 14 gauge baling wire, trapping wire, 16 gauge will work, whatever you have. And I double it over, like so. Take my pliers and kind of pinch it and make sure that it's a little stiff. All right. And what I do, and I hope this is going to be able to show up, and I'll reposition the camera once I get it set so that you can see exactly what I've done. I want that bottom of that loop just about 2 inches up off of the bottom of the dig out, off the bottom of the ground. And I take this little wire and I just go around the cable behind the lock. That's going to support that snare right where I want it. That's going to support it just right, but yet the coyote's going to be able to take it off. Okay? Just a little higher if I can get it. Sometimes you have to take your pliers and kind of do a little bending, but that's just about right there. Now I'm going to reposition the camera down here a little lower so you'll be able to see just exactly what I've done here. What I'm doing, I want that coyote's paws to go under the bottom of the loop of the cable, but I want his nose and head to go through the loop, if that makes sense. I don't want his paws up here in it because I don't want to catch him back here behind the front shoulders. I want him around the neck and stretched out there deader than a mackerel when I get here. So let me reposition this so you can see just exactly what I've done and how it is. All right, guys, there it is. And you can see my hand fits underneath there just real nice and easy like. And that coyote's paws will do exactly the same thing. They'll go right underneath that loop, but his head and his nose will go right through there. And that would be a completed set on hanging on a fence. Now, I know you boys in Missouri can't do this. You've got to stay back off of the fence, and maybe you do in other places too. But here in Iowa, as long as we're not in the road right away, which we're not, we can hang them in the interior fences like this just fine. I would caution you doing this for the fact of if you happen to catch somebody's dog, pretty good chance you're going to end up killing him. So you might want to be a little careful with it. But if you've got permission to be there, let everybody around know that you're in the area that you're snaring. Please keep your dogs at home. You should get along just fine. All right, guys, there's another little thing I want to kind of go over with you here, and that is snaring cow trails. Now, obviously, you would not be in here hanging snares when the cattle are in here, but after the farmer or rancher has moved the livestock, I don't care if it's cows or sheep or whatever, goats, whatever it might be, once they've moved the livestock out of the area, then you can go in there and hang snares. Now you can see we got that real prominent cow trail coming down, and it comes right there, and then it comes across. Now, I don't know how well it'll show up because of the sun, but it goes right through here. Then, if we pan around here, and I'll try to go slow so I don't make y'all sick, you come on across. The sun is always in the way, isn't it? Every time I try to film anything. But if you come on across here, there's a predominant cow trail that goes right through there as well. Then you have a second one down here. The first one goes off down along that ditch towards that tree line right yonder. That's a creek. Then you have another one that comes across right there. Then if you come on around, you've got about 3 or 4 more over there on the other side that everything comes to this place. Everything comes about right where my truck is. That's where everything meets. Now if you want to come in here with snares late in the season, what you would do is get yourself a 5-gallon bucket with a lid on it and jam that thing plumb full of bait. I don't care if it's fish, muskrat carcasses, beaver meat, bobcat, roadkill, deer, whatever you can use that's legal in your state. That's what you want to do. You would come in here and you would bury that bucket clear underground. But in the top of that lid, you drill a hole that will fit about 1 inch up to a 2-inch piece of PVC pipe. And you stick that PVC pipe up in the air 6, 8, 10 feet. Now you have a constant wick that's giving off an odor that's drawing those coyotes in here. It's drawing them into this area. And they're going to come right down them cow trails. Right down them that we showed you. That's their travel way. That's the way they're coming in here. And they can't get your bait. They can't get the feed. They can't get the food that you put out to them, but they mill around. Now, I would suggest that you don't put just one snare to a trail on a deal like that. I would hang 3 or 4 or 5 snares per trail. Because here's the deal. You've got this group of coyotes in here working. Weather's bad. It's hard times for coyotes. They're in here working. They're trying to get to what you've got buried in that bucket. But they're howling also. They're howling, and what that's doing is telling the next group of coyotes over that, hey, there's a free meal here, come help. All right, well, when they get over here, then they all start yipping, yapping, and howling. That's telling the next group of coyotes over, hey, free meal over here, come on. So when they come into an area like this, and it's bad, it's hard times, it's bad weather, and it's hard times on coyotes, it wouldn't be uncommon to come in here and pick up a half a dozen or more coyotes as they roll through the area. You know, so don't be afraid to hang the cable. Don't be afraid to put it out. I believe if you would take advantage of that, I think once you start to figure this out, you'll understand more about what I'm talking about. But it'll sure enough work for you. All right, gang, that's pretty well going to wrap this deal up. I think there's quite a bit of coyote snaring information in there for you if you choose to take advantage of it. I sure appreciate y'all tuning in to watch these videos, and I appreciate all the subscriptions. And for those of you that haven't yet, if you would, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there. I'd sure appreciate that too. Leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below. I'll answer to you just as quick as I can. Once again, this is Dale Billingsley with another one, signing out.